All right, looks like I'm live once again, of course, with a bit of a delay. And hopefully, everyone tuning in, yourself, and all the other potential viewers, hopefully, everyone's doing well. And in this live stream, I have a bit of an outline that I'm going to do my best to go over and hopefully stay on topic and share something that I think is useful and beneficial and hopefully will be helpful to those that are interested and open in hearing it. And what I want to do in this live stream in particular is try to be maybe a little bit more constructive, or I would say maybe explicitly, overtly constructive as best I can. Because, there are sometimes people of certain perspectives or inclinations that would perhaps accuse certain things that I say as being too negative or too deconstructive or not supportive enough and things of that nature. Which sure. So I'll try to take a little bit of a different tone in this video. And I'll also probably predict that as a necessary consequence to that, it probably will get a much lower engagement and rate of viewership, has been historically the trend throughout the history of my channel, let's say. So really what I want to get across, and what I've actually been trying to get across for a while now, in the most explicit, simple way that I can put it, and this is really the rationale and the reasoning that I may have for some of the perceived criticism or perceived flaws or such that I point out about many different New Age or modern spiritual sort of ideas. And it really comes down to this. Simple mode of being that we may choose to operate under. Option one, to orientate and reorient ourselves around things which are more solid, more stable, more reliable. Or chasing and orientating ourselves around desires, emotions, feelings, experiences, sensations, etc. So basically, simply put, building qualities versus chasing experiences and sensations. And if I were to simply summarize pretty much everything that I've been saying for quite a while now, it's basically that exactly. And pretty much all of my opinions or takes or hot takes on many of these different modalities comes down to exactly that. People will say, what do you think about this modality, this drug, this teacher, that teacher? And again, it simply comes down to this. Is it orientating a person around things which are more solid and reliable and more objective and less subjective? Or is it pushing someone towards chasing experiences, chasing feelings, chasing sensations, going deeper into their emotions, going deeper into their base desires, and therefore things which are by their nature tend to be pretty transient and up and down? Pretty much comes down to that simple schema, that simple framework. And people criticize things that I say about internal arts. And again, it goes back to that exact same thing. People are like, oh, I move my arms like this, and this is moving my lung chi, and this is stretching this meridian and that meridian. It's doing all these things. And I'm saying, no, it isn't. I mean, it's just not how things work. It's not how the body works. It's not how the energy system works. It's not how the meridians works. I mean, sure, it's moving the joints and some tissues, and yeah, it's basic human locomotion, but that has nothing to do with anything internal, which is why probably that they're different things and were different things all the way up until recent times, when human IQ and attention span took a massive nosedive. So, but again, it simply goes down to building qualities, orientating ourselves around things which are more solid and stable versus chasing experiences, chasing sensations. And just from that simple metric, it's pretty easy to understand. The thing I'm maybe not a big fan of is just chasing experiences. Oh, I did this and I felt some tingling and something rushed up here and then rushed up here and rushed up there. And then I saw a light and then I cried and then I shit my pants and then I burped and then I felt 100 times lighter. And then I looked at the clock and it was 11:11, and it's like, cool. That's an interesting experience, I guess. Maybe it doesn't sound particularly that interesting to me. If I wanted to feel things rush around in my skin, I could just do that, and now my skin's tingling, and it's kind of like, okay, uh, okay, cool. If that's as a human adult, that's what is interesting and fascinating and mind blowing and advanced and interesting and profound to you, then so is that probably, which that's your free right to do so as an individual. I have no issue with that. It's just it's not really building any qualities, and it's taking a person in the wrong direction, basically. So it just in the simplest, most basic way, that's really what I've been trying to get across for really the longest time, which is based in logic, based in common sense, based in clear thinking. And people can attack me for it or insult me personally or send me death threats or do a lot of horrible things that people have done because I say these trivial, simple things based in basic logic. And it's like, it just gets to be profoundly confusing at times. But anywho, I think that's really what it comes down to. People are struggling with anxiety, depression, many different health, mental, emotional things, which, okay, I mean, that's part of the human experience. Like, we've all been through things. Life is uncomfortable at times, for sure. So does it make sense to fight fire with fire? Meaning, if you have someone who's really stressed and their nervous system is really ungrounded and unstable, things are shooting and moving around and all this crazy stuff, does it make sense to say, you know what? How about if you did more of that? Really? Do more of that? Yeah, here's some Wim Hof breathing. How, ramp up your nervous system, get everything nice and like amped up. And then some psychedelics, some, I don't know, some sauna, some supplements, some microdosing. But then you feel a little bit crazy. So now you need a little bit of sound, you need a little sound healing, a little yoga nidra, you need a little Epsom salt bath to kind of ease off. And it's like people, if you've ever read A Brave New World where there's a pill for everything, and people think that's kind of far down the line, in many ways, that's what people are already doing. Many people are operating under this idea of health, which more or less is just like a very neurotic form of drug addiction when you really, really simplify it down. Why? Well, it comes down to building qualities and orientating yourself around things that are stable versus chasing experiences, chasing sensation, chasing feelings, chasing emotions, chasing desires and peak experiences, and thinking that's somehow going to lead somewhere. And I can tell you where it's going to lead. It's going to lead to more of all of those things, more sensations, more emotions, more feelings, more weird experiences, which inevitably and invariably will fry someone's nervous system and deplete their hormones and dry their body out of fluids, of yin, of blood 100% of the time. Now it's just a matter of when that might occur based on a person's, constitution, their health, their diet, all these different variables that vary from person to person, of course. But the outcome is more or less guaranteed. Just like if I stopped sleeping, we can all pretty much guarantee that that's probably not going to end very well for my body. Or if I said I'm going to stop drinking water because it's unnatural or something, that's not going to end well. We can all, I think, agree upon that. I just like choked on my electrolytes. talking and trying to drink a lot. But basically what happens, and the major cause that I think a lot of this stuff occurs is because fundamentally a lot of people hate themselves, and they hate being human, and they actually don't like being alive. Now, hate is a strong word. Okay. Perhaps dislike is maybe a better way to look at it, which that if a person has not really ever taken a strong accounting of their own internal framework, that all might seem a bit shocking or jarring. But I would just encourage maybe some exploration or self-reflection upon those ideas. And why I say that is because you can you can apologies to the headphone users. You can basically figure that out by looking at what people are idealizing and trying to move towards. Oftentimes, what is the subconscious imagery of a lot of healing or spiritual stuff is like this contradictory combination of living in this peak experience, yet also being completely numb and divorced and detached from being a human, meaning nothing bothers you. You don't have emotions. People can insult you and you don't care. Like you don't care about anything. You're somehow just above life. And then even people will take it as far as, there's examples of women being proud that their menstrual cycle stops because they have malnourished their body to that point. Or men being like, oh, my sex drive went away. That's great. Or, oh, my sex drive is through the roof. That's also great. Or people will idealize not sleeping. Like, oh, I'm just sleeping so much less these days because I did this thing. It's like, dude, I don't know who sold you on this idea that not sleeping was like makes any sense at all, but it doesn't. Like it's part of being human. And even people that are, high level, etc., they still sleep, they still eat, they're still human. Now maybe their relationship to it is very different, and their process and they go through is very different. But the point is, you can discern these things based on this is what people are trying to idealize and move towards, which you might say, well, how do you get there? How you can get there is very easily because if you look at the people they follow, usually the people they follow and look up to are peak experience sort of characters, or really, ooh, I'm crazy. You don't know what I'm going to do. I act like a wizard and a child, but I'm crazy and I'm ungrounded. And people are like, oh, this guy's just so liberated and in his feminine, blah, blah, blah. Or on another extreme, you have just like the paint drying Eckhart Tolle sort of just chi deficiency type people. And if that's what people are idealizing and looking up to, that gives you a pretty clear indication. And I can also tell you, as someone who's received a fair amount of hate from these kinds of people, it pretty much always comes down to not being like some of those people. Oh, you have an opinion that I don't agree with, so you're therefore inferior. Oh, you got annoyed about this, so you're inferior. Oh, you're sleeping and eating, or your diet isn't perfect, so you're inferior. And really what it comes down to is, oh, you don't like what I said, which is fine. But just like leave it at that. Why do we have to, play the these other ad hominem sort of games when it's just like, oh yeah, I don't like that. Okay, fine, cool. I don't care. That's life. Like, cool. I see opinions all the time that I don't like and I don't agree with whatsoever, all the time. And I just say, oh, okay, whatever. Move on with my life. That's it. That's all it takes. So again, going back to, we do have the choice within what we do and the choices we make and the things that we follow. Is it building certain qualities, or is it chasing feelings, emotions, sensations, peak experiences, emotional catharsis, or even more perverted sexual type things? Because the fact of the matter is, Basically, what everyone's doing is just some rearranged version of their base desires, which, no, 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 not me. No, no, he's not talking about me. No, I would never do that. It's like, okay, again, remember what I was saying earlier about people not wanting to be human, about people hating the human experience, about people wanting to just divorce, disassociate, detach from all of that. So if we ask, well, what qualities? Well, such as ease, comfort, stability, some degree of internal truthfulness, meaning being honest with ourselves about what our actual experience is, what our actual motives and drives and feelings are, having some degree of clarity and discernment and like actual clear definitions of things, and some capacity of strength or some feeling of strength, some feeling of competency. I would say regardless of the the goal, that those qualities will probably lead us closer to it. And let's say we just look at a 5 or 10-year period or 20-year period of a human life, and person A just invests their 5, 10, 20 years in chasing feelings, chasing experiences, chasing emotions, um, trying this ism, that ism, this teacher, that teacher, basically just eating at the buffet of all the stuff that's available, right? And just really exploring and doing all of these things, basically just chasing emotions, being driven by their desires, their feelings, peak experiences. Person A is doing that. Person B actually just orientates themselves and tries to move towards certain qualities, feeling calm, ease, strength, stability, some degree of inner truthfulness and awareness. And of course, they will never perfectly attain those things, but it's like a North Star. It's like a magnetic pull. It's something that they can at least orientate around and move towards. So I can just say explicitly, my personal view, in my opinion, is that person B is going to be much, much better off than person A. Why do I say that? Well, because I've been observing and been pretty involved in these kinds of worlds since like 2004. I've tried both for myself, and I can tell you that option B is much, much more sustainable and much more rewarding and a better way to go about it. Not only that, but observing lots of people going through that. Not only that, but just human history as an example. Not only that, but what basically any good teacher has said and has demonstrated, not to mention all the traditions, all the classical texts and things of that nature. That's really what they're talking about. And that's more closer to what they're actually putting across versus modern times is more more person A, which is what people are doing. Which again, people can hate or blame me or disagree or whatever, but ultimately time will tell. And it's interesting as an example. I meet people, for example, and this person just pulling something out. They might be real into somatics and feeling and experiencing and all these things, and I say, yeah, that's going to fry your nervous system for sure. And they're like, yeah, just my nervous system's not so good. And I have to basically live on away from everything. And I just feel so terrible. And I have all these allergies and I can't eat anything. And I'm so environmentally oversensitive and I'm hyper emotional and all these ups and downs. But you're wrong. I'm like, So I'm pointing out this dynamic that if you do A, then these things will probably occur. Those things did occur, have occurred, are occurring presently, but I'm also wrong. Okay, fine. When we disagree, I don't really care. It's not my life. I'm just saying this is my personal view, in my opinion. And I, for some reason, just having an opinion now is somehow controversial, which is weird because people write to me and are like, "How dare you? You think you're this? You think you're that? How could you say this? How could you say that?" I'm like, what? I thought we were adults. Uh, it's just really quite odd. So, anyways, going back to that. Uh, Another example I can give is men being like, okay, I need to get my sex drive way up here. And I'm like, well, tell me more. Oh, well, I masturbate 5, 7, 8, 10 times a week, and I look at porn, and I'm edging, and I'm doing microcosmic orbit and orgasm retention and Montauk Chia, Michael Wynn, and Con and Lee, and all this stuff. But I can't sleep. I have insomnia. I'm irritable. I have a lot of food allergies, and I just can't get a girlfriend, and I can't hold down a relationship. And I'm like, well, and they're like, so tell me what herb to take, or tell me what qigong I should do. And I'm like, well, the thing is, just stop doing all of that stuff. Like, stop jerking off all the time. Stop looking at porn all the time. Find a normal, healthy relationship to those things and move towards being a normal, functional, healthy human being that can exist in relationships without drugs and porn and escapism and hedonism and all these types of different things, which is ultimately all it comes down to. But again, it's not what people want to hear, but it's like, I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, yeah, of course, more zinc and protein and whatever, but that has nothing, it's not gonna, that's like, it's like peeing on a house fire. It's like, cool. That's sure is better than nothing, but my point is that maybe just stop doing the thing that's causing the problems in the first place. Is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Like, orientate yourself around qualities which are more stable and reliable rather than chasing sensations or feelings or peak experiences and things of that nature. It's basically what I've just been kind of repeating for the last 20 minutes or so. Also, I will say semen retention is not, it's not a thing. If you want to trash your, the thing is doing semen retention is and can be just as depleting as chronic masturbation. I hate to break this to everyone, but that all the books that Montauk Chia and Michael Wynn wrote about that and all the people that ripped off their ideas, it's complete nonsense. Like, there is nothing to it. It's literally not collecting energy. It's not whatsoever. There's no there's energy is not collected. I can absolutely guarantee you that 100%. Energy is not being collected. Basically, it's literally just sex. There's no profound spiritual essence to your semen that you somehow retain. That's, yeah, it's not. It's literally has nothing to do with life force. Like, it's, again, misunderstanding. Basically, people wrote things that they didn't even understood. They basically made up, i.e., Michael Wynn and Montauk Chia. They just made this stuff up. And then we have 30 or 40 years of people just repeating it and accepting it as if it's a thing. But I can tell you, it's literally not a thing. It's not what it means within Chinese medicine. It's not what it means within alchemy or Neidan or Taoism or any of those things. It's nothing to do with it. The teaching is simply just have a healthy, normal lifestyle or relationship to that base desire, ideally within a loving romantic relationship. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's not life force. It's not retaining a spiritual energy. It's not going to empower you. Um, sure, if a person is jerking off excessively and they stop, yeah, they'll feel better. But then at a certain point, it's going to go the other way because you're just fighting against yourself and creating internal stress, which eventually will stagnate the prostate, cause problems, and cause the nervous system to get a little bit haywire. So, yeah, having moderation for sure. So what I say is what I've been saying, meaning, uh, yeah. So what I'm saying is develop a somewhat natural, basic relationship to that base desire, and then hopefully that will exist within a normal, healthy, loving relationship because that actually has a much more nourishing quality. Meaning, if two people actually love each other and they have a heart connection, then sex takes on a completely different quality than just some dude jerking at the porn or jerking it in their bedroom or edging or jelking or the big draw or any of these other kind of things that people are doing. Um, yeah, obviously, sex can exchange for sure, which is why I said loving relationship. Because it's like, why would you, if you two people love each other and have a heart connection, why would you want to not have an exchange? Like, I mean, there's a lot of uncomfortable, unpleasant things in life. I don't know that two people loving each other and caring about each other and exchanging that with each other is one of them. That strikes me as a little odd. Like, of all the things in life, uh, I think that's one of the nice things, or at least the potential for nice things, which again goes back to what I was saying, things we can orientate our lives around. Yes, if there's things like STDs, which is why I said loving relationship between two adults, because you would have a conversation about those things, right? I mean, don't you usually discuss. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who I'm talking to. These are just random people on the internet. I'm just saying usually if you have sex with someone, you should maybe have a conversation with them. Um, yeah, I mean, many people nowadays are immature. But my point is, you are hopefully an adult, so you can make your own decision. Meaning, no one's going to force you to have sex with someone. Well, hopefully not. So if you're going to choose as an adult to sleep with someone, then you can say, hey, let's have a conversation about where we're at. I think it's kind of I mean, I don't really know what what that has to do with what I'm trying to get at. Um, my point is just basically reorientating. We can choose option A of actually building qualities and orientating around things which are more solid and stable, or option B, we can just chase feelings, chase desires, chase peak experiences, and kind of be slaves to our base desires. And really, in the simplest of terms, what all the traditions were actually pointing to and trying to mention is just this: have a basic normal, have a basic sense of ease, comfort, and normality in relationship to our base desires and other people. That's it. Now, of course, yes, if we're going to be an ascetic or a monk or completely remove ourselves from society, that's different. But the fact of the matter is, none of us are that. So why would we do it? That just is insanity to me. Um, it's like I'm gonna live like an Eskimo, okay? But you live in the Caribbean, yeah. But I'm still gonna take an Eskimo lifestyle, yeah. Well, you're white and you live in the Caribbean, so that's not really gonna work. But sure, go ahead. Um, so yeah, that's basically, in a nutshell, what I've been trying to get at for quite a long time. And really, it's this really simple, easy heuristic kind of diagnostic that anyone can use to discern things when it's choosing different isms to engage within or whatever. Um, Chris Silva says, "What made you want to change from A lifestyle to B lifestyle?" I realized in my recounting of those different examples, I flipped around sometimes, so I apologize. But I remember the one you're talking about, which was B lifestyle being, let's just say, the healthier option, and A lifestyle, let's say, be the more maybe temporarily more fun and interesting lifestyle, but long term much less sustainable. What made me want to change? I think is a combination of having some more mature and effective mentors and people and friends in my life. That and a strong combination of just realizing that things that I had been doing actually weren't working, and I felt worse, and things just taking an honest account, an honest look at what had occurred and seeing what do I have to show for it, and then just realizing, yeah, it's probably not really going to work. So probably need to find something else. Um, that and maybe just reverting and leaning more upon the way in which I was raised, perhaps, because people maybe don't know this. I have no idea, but basically, I was raised in a small town in Indiana, and maybe 30,000 people, and I grew up playing sports, and I grew up and I had a lot of strong, healthy male role models and authority figures in my life: church, school, sports, father, grandfather, uncles, cousins, etc. And I realized that that probably was more impactful than I might have previously known, because just over the years of making videos and interacting with other young men, it there's a lot of things that become very clear that maybe they did not have those same experiences, or maybe they did not have those types of people in their life. Like the numerous times people are like, "Oh, you're harsh. Oh, it's too mean. Oh, it's too deconstructive." I'm thinking, that's weird. I was trying to be super nice about that, but I just realized that a lot of it probably has to do with that, um, being a kid and just getting absolutely yelled at when you screw up multiple times, or playing sports and failing, playing sports and not being good, and knowing you're not good, and have everyone tell you you're not good, have your coach tell you you're not good because you don't make the team, and then having to accept how shitty that feels, and then make some decision to accept it or do something about it. Now, I wish, in hindsight, I can look at these things. Obviously, at the time, I was a kid, so it's like I wasn't, I wasn't necessarily computing uh, at nowhere near that level. I was definitely more, yeah. But I can just look back now and realize that I had certain figures within my life and certain experiences and conditioning that I think perhaps just predisposed me to certain things. Now, maybe if I grew up in the West Coast in a more female dominated environment, and maybe I didn't have strong male figures, I didn't have good sports or church or these types of stable role models in my life, maybe I'd be different. Maybe I'd be more like how people are today, in terms of just like feelings are facts, and who cares about logic and rationality and objectivity and traditional sort of organizations. Who cares about any of that? It's all about just what I feel and what I want. um, Maybe that's the way, because I had that phase, and I can tell you that it just really wasn't great. um, so yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or useful, or that just paints some context, but yeah, I think that has definitely some stuff to do with making those changes. and perhaps also just being an adult and getting older. Like, I think we should get a little more mature, a little more um, wise and thoughtful as we get older, and hopefully not less. Um, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think we should learn from our mistakes. We should be willing to make mistakes. We should do things and make mistakes, and then be willing to learn from them, and being able to admit that we were wrong, that we did make mistakes. And I think the other aspect is I did just make a lot of mistakes. Tried a lot of things that didn't work, a lot of relationships that didn't pan out. Maybe we weren't compatible, but I thought we were, or hoped or tried or whatever, but we weren't. Business things that just didn't pan out. Um, Health things, just trying a lot of different things and realizing, oh, it's not really working. And then I guess at a certain point, just trying to understand why and how. And also just meeting a lot of teachers, reading a lot of books that are just not correct. Simply put, it's just not correct. And I know this is the thing is I realize for some people that that me as an adult having opinions that I actually believe in and stand behind is offensive or triggering, which is weird. It's very weird. And I will say, typically the people that have problems with that and lash out and attack me personally are either female or very feminized men. That's just historically what has been the case. Rather than admitting, I don't like this, I don't agree, difference of opinion, whatever, the conversation then becomes some weird, either direct or indirect attack on me as a person, me as I'm living my life, some attack on my emotionality or attack on my character, my morality, or all these different things, or point out some kind of character flaw, things of that nature. And it's like, that has nothing to do with anything. It's just a guy on the internet with an opinion, like on YouTube. I mean, I don't clearly, like, this is not a religion. I'm not here dictating the truth on high. And I don't look particularly good. Obviously, I'm not taking this too seriously. My shirt is wrinkled. My beard needs to be trimmed. Like, I don't really understand why it's such a thing, but it really has been over the years. But that just kind of goes to show where people are at. And the thing is, if some dude on the internet saying like chasing your feelings and base desires maybe it's just going to give you long-term anxiety and nervous system burnout, if that is like a huge attack and a very triggering thing, then I'm sorry. Like, I really pray and hope for people like that, because in the scheme of life, that's nothing. That's not a big deal. It's just logic, rationality presented in a dumb way on the internet. That's really all it is. But the thing is, it just goes to show the schemas that people are running. Because in my mind, this is my schema. I'm a guy, check, who's had experiences, check, and reflected on them, and I'm sharing my opinion and my experience based on those things, check. Those are all true. So that's all I'm doing. And that's all I believe in. I don't believe I don't believe I'm anything other than just that. But then people, their critique is like, oh, you think you're this guru or spiritual, whatever. Show me your chi. Show me your spiritual dick. Oh, you're inferior because you are annoyed by something, or no one loves you. You must be really lonely and miserable because you have a problem with things, or things bother you. So your life must suck. It's like, okay. So I don't know. That's how I sleep at night, because believe it or not, I don't like conflict. I don't like upsetting people. I don't want people to be in pain. I don't want people to be suffering or causing themselves problems. I actually do want I wish everyone had a very efficient, harmonious life, because that's what I want for myself. When I look in the mirror and I want this for myself, that's what I want. So subsequently, I want this for everyone. Um, and what I share and what I think are things that lead more towards that. Obviously, yeah, it's never perfect. Like, there's always disagreements because we're human. People have bad days, people have good days. There's all this variety, of course. But what I'm saying is, we have options of what we orientate ourselves towards. Well, we have like a North Star where maybe we'll never reach it. Maybe we'll shoot, what is it? Aim for the moon and you'll something with the stars or whatever, or shoot for the stars and you'll land on the moon, whatever. It's sort of colloquial cliche idea, is for some reason really revolutionary or triggering or offensive, for a lot of people, which is very confusing to me. My point of all that is if people do have beef or problems with me, I do usually actually reflect on it. If I have conflict with someone, I do reflect on it. I do analyze, okay, how did I act? How was my tone? How was my delivery? How could it have been better? What choices did I make that led up to that thing? Could I have responded differently? Or, okay, what about them? Is it actually just a conflict about this, or is it some other thing? Okay, let me try to figure that out. Why? Because I would prefer to have harmony and get along with people. Maybe we not necessarily agree, maybe not necessarily want the same things or go in the same directions, but at least we can not just cause more unnecessarily strife or stress or conflict between people beyond what's just inherent with being alive. That's my personal view. People can disagree and have their own take on it for sure. Fine. Um, but the thing is, for whatever 14 years of making videos, that's literally all I've ever been saying or doing, because that's objectively all I can see as actually being true. And because I can see that it actually being true, I feel comfortable and confident to lean upon it and speak from it. Because if I didn't, then I don't really know. Like, I think sometimes people just don't understand how communication works. It's kind of like the person earlier was like, "Oh, well, what if there's STDs like HPV or herpes?" It's like, yeah, obviously, of course, but that has nothing to do with what the conversation at hand is. It's like if I start saying, "Oh, well, objectively, there's an inch," or objectively, we can agree what a foot is, or agree what a stop sign is, and then people are like, "Yeah, but what's a stop sign to a deer? What's an inch to an ant?" It's like, yeah, what's a butt plug to a dolphin? Who cares? Like, it has nothing to do with anything. But it just illustrates that people can't think in this way of like A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, leads to F. Oh, we're done? Okay, cool. The way people think is A, I don't know, Z, numbers 2, explosion, meme, Instagram video, feeling, bad memory. Oh, my butt itches. Oh, this happened. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, wait, here's what we're talking about. Da-da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, man, maybe that's a good place to start for, I don't know, feeling better or getting healthier or solving problems or attaining a skill, whatever that is. So, yeah, that's that. I don't really want to. Hopefully, that's helpful or useful. I was trying to answer the question. Chris, thanks for sharing your life with Sketch Candor. Yeah, happy to do it. But the funny thing is, people are going to be like, "Oh, he's a narcissist. All he ever does is talk about himself. He thinks that his experience is just the number one, the only right way to live." Like, no. What else do I have? Or, oh, I hear what you're saying, but that's just your experience. That's just your opinion. Yeah, what else would it be? I understand that maybe there are other realities. Maybe there are other dimensions. Maybe there are other timelines. But in this one, this is what we got. Like, it's like, I just drank water. Yeah, because you had water in your water bottle. Yeah, where else would it be? Like, what? How is that it's nothing. I guess that I think sometimes that's like a mode that people go into, because basically I haven't shared a lot of this publicly, but I do have actual scripts and sort of like characters that when I encounter someone or a certain person of a certain demographic or a certain inclination, with a high degree of probability, I can usually predict their views across a wide range of things and their responses. Now, this is nothing special about me. It's just that humans inherently we're very predictable. Like, we're very simple creatures. But a lot of times what people register as complexity is just confusion. Like, oh, it's all this and it's all that, but it could be this, but it could be that. Like, you're just confused. Like, you're probably stressed and anxious. In actuality, it might be something very simple. Of course, yes, there are numerous causal factors that we cannot take into account that are beyond our rational capacity, obviously. But that's not like, why would you want to live that way? It's like, am I hungry? I don't know. What speed is the sun spinning, and what's Uranus doing? And there's all these gravitational forces upon my body, and I just felt the air. It was like, now that's just mental illness. like, are you? What's the feeling in your stomach? When was the last time you ate? You're getting growling and gurgling. Okay, you're probably hungry. It's not that complicated. What people are registering as that is oftentimes just confusion or stress or anxiety, which, again, I'm not knocking. It's part of the human condition. Anyways, I'm just trying to share some of my axioms and some of my baseline points to hopefully shed some color on things. Anyways, what are your thoughts on cold showers? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think doing alternating hot and cold showers, you can definitely feel pretty good afterwards. I'm not necessarily a proponent of ice baths and people stressing themselves out in that way. Because the thing is, people that are pretty young and strong and vital are going to be able to get away with that for longer, whereas people that are more frail and fragile are going to really start noticing their nervous systems crashing and their hormones crashing. Guarantee it. Is it a coincidence that so many health influencers are also on TRT and peptides and all types of different PEDs? Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe. It's like I was saying earlier, people think a brave new world and a pill for everything is so far away, but honestly, people are fast tracking themselves towards it at a blinding pace. They are actively participating in their own demise. I should say actively and enthusiastically participating in their own demise because it feels good. And because a person, an authority figure, told them that it was good, so it must be. Even though someone just made it up at some point, but whatever. So yeah, I just have opinions, I have views, and then I just wait and see, just observe. I'm happy to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope things just take this massive upward trend and people just get this amazing radiant health and their emotions and their mentality just equalizes and stabilizes, and honestly, society and culture just changes for the best. That's what I hope, and that's what I want. It's cause and effect. So if I can't necessarily see the causes, and I see the causes that are going in a different direction and producing negative effects, then I'm going to be more likely to think that it's probably not going in the right direction. Now, that's not 100% law or conviction. It's just a working theory, which is pretty much all it is. And it's just judged based on its results and the fruits that it bears, which I thought was just what we were supposed to do as humans. But apparently it's like a controversial thing these days. I don't really know. Some things just kind of don't make sense. Anyways, that's my thoughts on cold showers. It's fine. It's just, again, it's just the latest greatest thing. anything people can do to catch a buzz or a high or a stimulation or a euphoria, it's going to be all about it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, which again is just base desires and stress response, which is the complete opposite direction of what every actual religion and tradition has taught and was based upon. Complete opposite. So, yeah, there's that. But anyways, yeah, I gotta jump off here. Oh yeah, let's see. Dan said still taking reishi. Do you practice tai chi? Still taking reishi, not lately, because I've been doing a specific custom formula for a different thing. But I took reishi pretty much every day for better part of a decade or so. So I mean, I have a certain degree of intimacy with it. Let's say. Do you practice tai chi? Man, not really. I mean, mostly Neigong and Qigong. Tai Chi occasionally for fun, just to kind of test and play with other qualities that are developed and other things. But I really wouldn't claim to actually do it because I'm not putting in hours a day on it. So it'd be kind of dishonest to be like, oh, I do Tai Chi. Really? Yeah, I did 5 minutes this week. Okay, you're not really doing it, are you? But I guess for a lot of people, that would be doing it. Like, oh, I filmed myself on Instagram for 90 seconds. I put it online. So now I'm doing Tai Chi. It's like, well, no, you just flapped around for 90 seconds, put it on the internet for clout and validation and feel better about yourself or something. I don't know. But that's not Tai Chi. So, yeah, I guess not really. See if there's any other questions that I missed. Happy to answer any other questions if there are any. But I can just also say, like, guys, like, don't semen retention and all that stuff. It's complete nonsense. It's just all made up. It's people just chasing sensation and has nothing to do with anything. Have a healthy, normal, balanced relationship to where it's actually not that important to you. Like, if you're an adult past a certain age and sex is just like always right here, something's not right, man. Like, it's not great. I mean, I guess the exception being, yeah, if you're in a really passionate, fiery, loving relationship, okay, sure, whatever. But if you're just a single guy, it means you're probably really overstimulated. Too many video games, too much weed, too much caffeine, too much screen time, all these types of things, just overstimulation. And actually, that's what needs to be addressed, not could I not ejaculate? I guess, come on, that's not a thing. Montauk Chia and Michael Wynn really did a lot of people a big disservice from writing those fraudulent books. Do you still drift the C63S? No, I sold that particular automobile back in, well, you must have been around for a long time. That's like 12 years ago. I think I had that car maybe 2012, around that time or something. But yeah, I sold that around 2000. I don't remember when I sold it. I traded it in for an M3, and then I traded the M3 for a Volkswagen GTI, and then I traded the GTI for an M3, and then I got rid of the M3 and didn't have a car for a couple months, and then I got a Mazda CX-5, and then I just have had the Mazda since like 2017-ish, I think. So yeah, I just kind of got over that adrenaline phase. It was fun. It was a good time, but I don't think I'll ever. I don't think I'll go back there. I just don't care. Like, I just really don't. And that's what I come down to. Sometimes I thought about, yeah, maybe I should get a cool car. Then I'm just like, I really don't care. I just don't want to spend any time thinking about my car ever. I don't want to have to special services, tires. I don't want to have to people stop me on the street and talk about it. I just don't want to deal with that at all. Just, yeah, I don't care about that anymore. It was fun, and I did a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, I just don't, it's not interesting to me. I like the Mazda, and it's just something I just want to have functioning and be something I just forget about. I just don't have to think about it. So yeah, but yeah, good on you for, I guess, being around for 12, 13 years. That's crazy. Um, can I use herbal medicine alongside psychosis medicine? I don't know if that's a, a Freudian slip. Calling, I think you mean psychedelics. But I'm gonna, oh, actually, no, you might mean actual psychosis medicine. Sorry, I thought you meant psychedelics. Which I was going to say it's kind of a really funny Freudian slip for psychedelics, and I might actually start using it. But I don't know if you mean like actual like psychiatric medication, I think is what the term we're looking for. If you're on actual psychiatric medication, usually, I mean, it depends on the herb. Like, can I use herbal medicine? That's a huge, I mean, that could be 3,000 different substances. I mean, obviously, the best answer is to work with a practitioner, a Chinese herbalist directly, or a doctor or an integrative psychiatrist, because I'm just a dude on the internet. I don't know you. I don't know your situation, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't really say for sure. But I can say that usually there's not. Usually, at least for mushrooms, let's just make it more specific. For mushrooms, usually it's the thing is people have that are on blood pressure or heart medication have to worry because it can alter blood pressure, sometimes quite strongly if it's out of whack. So people have that, and then pregnant women have to use some caution. But yeah, I'm not a doctor, so sorry, I can't tell you more specifically. How far along in the e-ginging process do you think you are, and what have some of what have some of the biggest hurdles you have had moving through it? Um, I mean, I'll say, long story short, the biggest hurdle through getting through the e-ginging process is literally who you are as a person. Like, that's it. Everything you like, all your memories, all your emotional fixations, all your empowering psychological standpoints, that's the biggest hurdle that there is. Your personality, all that's a hurdle. Now, that doesn't go away permanently, but being able to step out of it and move closer towards attention, that's the biggest hurdle. And just being able to intellectually understand what you were doing. So yeah, developing enough of mind fluid to have stability and concentration um, is a difficult thing. To have your mind absorbed through a large object such as your body and stable despite all the crazy stuff going down, and then maintaining all the different conditions, yeah, it's a challenge, not to mention the psychological and physiological discomfort that often arises from the process, especially as you move through different layers. So that's what I can say. In terms of where I am on it, I don't think I could accurately say that, since I don't know what the end of it is. Um, I mean, I could speak to actual fullness percentage in terms of like Dantian fullness and those types of things. I could speak to that, but it's not something I really want public on the internet. It's just kind of a personal thing. I can say that I can basically differentiate between the different elemental qualities, let's say. So if I want to engage within the like earth tissue level layer, I can do that, or the wood, that's no problem, or the metal, which would be more your nerves, actually. Um, that's all able to be differentiated. And then you sometimes the blood, I can actually get into the blood system as well and feel that and move that at will. For example, there's been times where I sit on the couch and make myself sweaty just from moving my blood while I'm just sitting on the couch, like slouching, which is logically shouldn't really be possible, but it just comes down to mobilizing blood under the action of release and such. So yeah, being able to differentiate all those different things, which is actually a lot to that in terms of 4 or 5 different types of chi, and then building them, bringing them together, etc. Yeah, I would say that, and the biggest hurdles would be some injuries that I'd had, car accidents, head injuries, and concussions. That was it. That was and is very uncomfortable to go through. It's actually when I look back and see how much worse I actually used to feel and such, and then I actually look at all the head injuries that I'd had over my lifetime, I started to see that maybe there was some relationship or correlation to that, and just the amount of pain that was, in my upper thoracic and head was not good. Not all the way there yet, but it's a daily grind getting there. But yeah, good question. I don't know that I want to be more specific than that. What are your thoughts on hallucinogenics or herbal medicine like ayahuasca? I swear people abuse them now, like drug addicts, to get high. I wouldn't really call them herbal medicine. It's just hallucinogenics or whatever. I'm not a fan personally. I think it falls into the category of what I've been saying throughout this live stream, which is orientating in moving ourselves towards things which are very transient, like experiences, feelings, emotions, desires, visual phenomena. I don't think it's particularly useful. I don't think it makes people more effective. My personal view is that it makes people more confused and less effective. Of course, there's examples. There's people that are built a certain way or have a certain constitution, and they can get away with it, get by with it more so than others. And there's also certain people that it just absolutely fries them and absolutely disintegrates them in a not so useful way. I'm not a fan whatsoever. The other question is, if you're, this is just my personal thing is, if you actually have psychosis and legitimate psychiatric issues, I would not recommend doing meditation or any type of introspective mindfulness, spirituality, internal arts. None of it. It's not a good mix. Not a good idea. And people that are starting to mix these things, it's not a good idea. I'll just say that. If you really have those types of issues, then those issues need to be sorted out. Neurofeedback is a great option. That's probably what I would do if I had the resources and I had actual like psychiatric issues. Just do neurofeedback to try to actually correct the brain and the nervous system. I would not be doing Dr. Google or whatever. Now, sure, you can do supportive basic herbs, gynostemma, schizandra, holy basil, some mushrooms, like very basic, easy, simple stuff. Whatever. It's supportive, it's nutritive, fine. But I would definitely not be doing spirituality or meditation or all this other stuff until those things had been sorted out first. That's what I would say. And I would recommend going back and just rewatching the first like 10 minutes of the live stream as just a mode. But I mean, generally improving focus, that can be done through literally anything. Playing a musical instrument, learning a skill, reading, I mean, anything. But I would steer clear of meditation and spirituality and all these types of things, and understand that concentration comes from relax. Concentration doesn't come from focus. That's just strain and stress, it's just not going to work. To being able to relax into attention and be absorbed into something is a different quality. But anyways, I do have to go. I have things planned this evening, and I need to get ready. I need to shower and trim my beard and do all of those types of things. So I do have to go. But if you have any further questions or things that you want me to address in an upcoming live stream, you can put them in the comments, and I'd be happy to do that. But that's all I have, and that's all I have for this one. And if you tuned in late, I would recommend at least the first 10 minutes, because I just kind of repeated the same thing over the first 10 minutes. And so, yeah, hopefully this was useful and beneficial. Again, if you don't want to go back and rewatch the first whatever, I'll just repeat what I said, which is basically we have different options in terms of how we want to live our lives. And if you wanted to simplify and really distill down my issue with a lot of things that people are doing in modern times, it's simply this. It is basically option A, learning to orientate ourselves towards things that are more solid, stable, and reliable, which comes down to things like values and morals and internal qualities, things like comfort, ease, stability, or a sense of internal truthfulness, sense of honesty, a sense of self-reflection. Those types of qualities are much more stable and reliable than option B, which is what people are usually doing, which is chasing their feelings, their emotions, chasing interesting, novel, peak experiences, or just being a slave to their desire. And option B will for sure leave people feeling disappointed, disenfranchised, disassociated, and inevitably fry their nervous system. For sure. So yeah, that's basically the gist of what I was trying to get at, and I've really been trying to get at for a long time throughout these videos. And if you want to start to understand, is this art legit? Is this teacher legit? Is this thing legit? You can just use that schema. It's really that simple. You can, and it is really simple, because basically everyone is in the latter camp, talking about, oh, I did this practice and I felt this and this happened and this rush and this went here and this went there and I saw this and I had this dream and I looked at the clock and it was 3:33 and then it was 11:11 and then I had this dream and then I felt this and then I got a boner and then I farted and then my neck itched and then I ate goji berries and then I saw someone at the health food store and they said my aura looked bright and just all this stuff, and it's like, cool. That's nothing more than just sensation and experiences and random nothingness, which is basically what everyone's already doing all the time anyways. That's just how people are living all the time. That's just, actually, no, it's not, because I don't think most people are that dysfunctional. I think most people are actually pretty normal and functional. And it's only these sort of deviant, degenerated niches like spirituality and self-help that people get pulled into, because they usually don't function in life very well, which is why they're into it in the first place, because they're trying to remedy or medicate or fix something or achieve something, usually some kind of escapism or hedonism, because they don't like their life, they don't like themselves, so they want a way out of it, which again is all fair. It's not knocking or denigrating anyone, it's just part of the human experience. There's a lot of things in life that can be very uncomfortable, very unpleasant. And I can tell you just from personal experience, I'm no stranger to pain, let's just say, whether that's physical or psychological or emotional pain. I lived most of my life from that position. So believe me, I can deeply empathize and strongly relate to the suffering and the discomfort of others, which I think is why things I say are so offensive, because it's probably so accurate and such an inside-out description. Because you could name something and I could spend an hour talking about it from the inside out, How does it occur? Why does it occur? What kinds of experiences probably led to that? What are the modes of operation and the programs the person's running? How that's going to influence their behavior and change their health, influence their digestion, their hormonal system, their relationships, all of the different things, which personally I find to be useful and beneficial. But for some people, it's offensive or rude or mean or hostile or critical or judgmental or fill in the blank of things. But it's just coming from the position of, yes, I can deeply empathize, or at least in my opinion, I can deeply empathize, but it just comes out through my personality, which, like I was saying in the live stream, I told you the big impacts on my personality, like where I grew up, how that was, etc. So that's how it comes out. I didn't grow up in the West Coast or on a hippie commune or in some female dominant environment, and I don't have daughters, so I don't operate in that way. Most of my friends are guys, and the women that I interact with are family members or women I'm interested in dating. So like that's just how it comes out. My point is, it's because sometimes people are like, you just gotta love people and be softer and nicer. And it's like, how are you gonna do that on the internet? Like on YouTube? That's just weird. Of course, in interpersonal things in real life with actual people where you have communication and body language, and yeah, it's different. To me, it just seems really psychotic to be like, I'm going to go on the internet and just love all of these complete strangers that I don't even know and I've never even met and I'll probably never meet, and who don't even know me and I don't know them, but I'm going to somehow. That just sounds really egotistical and kind of weird. Which again, I can't. Maybe someday I'll have this ability or some thing that I think is true or whatever, sure. But I can't find that to lean upon, because I don't. This is one thing you may or may not have noticed is I don't hide behind slogans or concepts. What I mean is, I've had people who ultimately just don't actually like me as a person, but they'll write to me, "Hey, brother, I'm saying this with the ultimate meta. I'm saying this from all loving and kindness. I'm saying this because I love you," and all these things. And it's like, no, dude, you actually don't. Like, you're just cosplaying as some holier than thou thing, some holier than thou spiritual person, because maybe your life experience shaped you, that your baseline emotional response to things is that. It's like, okay, mine shaped me that my default response is slight annoyance. Okay, none of us are better or worse. It just means we had different life experiences. Like, it, it's just it's just, and neither of us is more or less capable of experiencing love or joy or anything positive. It has nothing to do with it. But for some reason people make that assumption, and it's like, oh well, this guy speaks in the soft language and he uses tones and slogans and buzzwords and talismanic languaging, so I like him more. And personally, I detest all of that stuff, because it's kind of dishonest and it's kind of a scapegoat, because it allows people to obfuscate responsibility. Oh no, no, that's not what I meant. No, 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 that's not what I said. Oh no, no, that's not where it's coming from. No, no, it's coming from this place. It's like, no, no, dude, just say what you actually think and feel. Have the courage or the audacity or the ignorance or whatever to just stand upon your own 2 feet of what you think and feel and your opinion of life and the world, based on your own experience and your own reflection and your own logic and your own rationality. Just do that instead of, hey, I'm going to say some really mean, hateful shit that's going to be passive aggressive, but it's coded, and I actually don't like you, but I'm saying it from ultimate love and meta and compassion. And I do talk shit about you behind your back, and I talk shit about you online, but I love you and you're my brother and all this. Like, dude, no, like, come on, dude. It's just, it's just dishonest, and it's also weak. Like, that's the thing, is it's fundamentally weak. There's nothing to it. Because I don't know if anyone's maybe noticed this or had a similar experience where there's a certain effortlessness to truth or things that are true, whereas lies tend to take a lot of work to sort of prop up and keep going. And you can tell when you speak to someone and you ask them about something and all you get back is a word salad. It's like, okay, so like, I mean, politicians are a great example of this. They said a lot of words. There's a lot of buzzwords and slogans and terminology and schemas, but you don't really actually know what they're saying or who they are or where they stand. And I think, to be totally honest, and this is something I've said for a long time, for a lot of people, spirituality and that language is exactly that. It's obfuscation and sort of the mist, or now it's all the therapy language that sort of people hide behind, and it's just profoundly dishonest. And to be honest with you, I find it pretty disgusting. Like, there's very few things in life that I'll just be repulsed by, but that's one of them. Like, that degree, whether it's from a politician or some kind of slippery, greasy person like that, I really don't like this. Really don't like that. And as soon as someone is speaking in that way, like flowery language or these grandiose terminologies, I automatically know they probably are not on the up and up. It's just not all. It's obviously not always the case, but I'm just saying, to a high percentage, it's often the case. They're usually trying to swindle you or get something over, or they just don't have the courage or the communication skills to just say what they need to say in a way that's not, or I don't know. The thing is, yeah. Or maybe they just don't want to admit to themselves that they don't actually like someone because they're too busy trying to maintain their metta and loving kindness and compassion and love for all beings. It's like, no, dude, you're a human being. You are not going to like certain people. You're not going to like certain things. That's just called being alive. But oh, no, you got to love everyone and love everything. Cool, go jump in a fire. Like, go jump in an iceberg. I guarantee you probably won't like it, and there's probably a reason for that. It's called being a human being, being a mammal. Like, it's just part of life. But yeah, anyways, that was a bit of a rant, bit of a tangent. I just really have no real patience for that kind of stuff, and I just find it to be profoundly disingenuous. Which, yeah, I won't go. Or will I? Should I go more into that? I don't know. I just think as humans, yeah, we can disagree. We can have different views on things. People can make our own choices. And I think that's just the variety of life. Yeah. I think that's just people being adults. That's fine. So yeah, anyways. Thanks for tuning in. Apologies. I always do that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go now, but hold on. Let me talk for 10 more minutes. It's like was that an Irish goodbye? Is that what it's called, or something like that? You're like, okay, see you later. Okay, let's talk for 20 more minutes. Okay, I got to go. Okay, time 20 more minutes. Anyways, yeah, thanks again for everyone that tuned in. Hopefully you can find some constructive, useful data from this. I do actually have a course that I've been working on. That is really along these ideas. I should film it someday, I think, but I just need to kind of crystallize it around and yeah, put it down. But anyways, I gotta go. I got things I need to do. I gotta get ready. I gotta shave and try to make myself look slightly more presentable. Put on a non-wrinkled shirt. Kind of easy to say things people agree with when you don't say anything concrete and you use sayings from AZ quotes. Yeah. You know what's funny is I wrote, you know how on Facebook you get the memories, right? So I got a memory from about 10 years ago, I think. And I think it's something I wrote. It might have only been 8 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, which this is what I wrote. I'll read it to you. It's not very long. It's maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's not that long. If you speak in terms which stimulate the imaginary, fantastical, or hedonistic, then it's quite easy to have many people on board, because with this functional degree of delusion and vagueness, it allows anyone and everyone to make it mean basically whatever they want it to mean, which is kind of how political slogans work. Here's an emotionally charged word that sounds good, but we never define, so everyone can just project their own whatever onto it. And yet, if you turn the conversation to clearly defining things within a systemic functional context, then suddenly everyone becomes quiet. If there's a systematic process of organization where a principle or a view is paired with a specific method, which is supposed to produce a specific outcome or some kind of fruition or some kind of skill or quality, then people have a problem because they can't project the vague. Because in a clear, coherent, and fairly linear manner, specific skills are built upon specific skills, etc. And these skills and qualities are pretty tangible and verifiable. They're not vague, they're not hopeful, they're not faith-based, they're not imaginary. And that view is in stark contrast with what the majority of approaches to personal transformation or spirituality are, which are profoundly fragmented, vague, and imaginary. Fragmented meaning a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, pull from here, pull from there, pull from here, pull from there, put it all together, and now we have this. And how we know it's all true is because of our feelings and of our imagination and whatever. And it's usually founded in a profound lack of clarity. By that, I mean no definitions, no specific skills, no specific qualities, no clear organization, and no clear path of development. It's kind of like someone saying, hey, we don't have legs, so let's go running. Or like, hey, we don't know the alphabet, so let's write Shakespeare. So, which that sort of approach basically only leaves imagination or cavalier drug usage or some format of basically continually rearranging standardized views and slogans, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. And psychedelics and plant medicines is a great thing of that, because a lot of people in that genre are extremely sensitive. I can tell you this from experience when I've talked about it on podcasts or videos. These people interested in these things get offended in the same way and say the same exact things, have the same exact defense mechanisms, the same exact fragmented views. And oftentimes their psychedelic experiences are pretty much exactly the same, and they end up almost being homogenized carbon copies of each other, but they don't even realize it. It's really weird. This profound individuation ends up being profoundly homogenous. But again, people can criticize that all they want. I already know the criticisms. I already know what people will say. I can guarantee it. Like, it's predictable because of exactly what I just read from this thing. So it's basically like people that are sensitive or whatever enough to get offended by what I said are going to do it in a predictable way. People that are mature or secure enough in their own view will just say, oh, whatever, that's his opinion. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's cool with me. Do what you want to do. I'll do what I want to do. That's life. I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not telling you anything other than that. So yeah. Anyways, your noodle just basically, in a very short way, said what I just said in a much more long-winded manner from on my Facebook, apparently like 8 or 10 years ago. So that's funny. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for all the questions, and much love and blessings and meta and infinite. Hold on. Oh yeah, here we go. It's not doing it. Oh, here we go. Last time I did it, they must have gotten rid of it, because before on the live stream, if I made different hand gestures, there would be an effect on the screen, but I guess they got rid of it. Yeah. Dude, his heart is so closed. He can't even make a heart with his hand. He doesn't even know what it looks like. He's not very spiritual at all. Oh, man. People are funny. Anyways, I do like grapefruits there. They are delicious. Probably one of my favorite fruits. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for everyone that tuned in. I got to go, and I will see you on the next one.